Inside the daily lives of inmates and guards. Every day in the United States, more than 1.9 million people wake up behind bars. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of correctional officers walk through secured gates to supervise them. They live on opposite sides of the same walls, but their daily lives are tightly intertwined. This is not a story about the worst crimes or the most notorious prisons. This is a factual, inside look at the ordinary routines, pressures, and realities that define life inside American prisons, for both inmates and the guards tasked with watching them. Nothing here is dramatized. Nothing is invented. What you're about to see is built from official reports, documented practices, and verified testimony. And once those steel doors close behind you, ordinary life no longer exists. Entering the day. The guard. Before we go any further, if you value deeply researched, factual prison documentaries like this one, please like and subscribe to Beyond the Bars. Your support directly helps us continue bringing you accurate, long-form stories from inside places most people never see. Guards morning. For correctional officers, the day often starts before sunrise. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, most officers work rotating shifts, including nights, weekends, and holidays. Mandatory overtime is common in understaffed facilities. Before a single inmate is counted, guards pass through multiple security layers. Phones are restricted or banned. Personal items are limited. Every movement is logged. Once inside, officers receive briefings, covering staffing shortages, inmate movement schedules, known tensions or recent incidents, medical or mental health alerts. These briefings are factual necessities. Federal and state audits consistently show that miscommunication is a leading factor in prison violence. The shift has begun, but control inside a prison is never absolute. The inmates wake up. For inmates, the day begins with count. Counts are mandatory head counts conducted multiple times daily. The exact number varies by facility, but 4 to 7 counts per day are common in U.S. prisons. Morning count confirms that every incarcerated person is alive and present. Inmates are required to stand by their bunks or cell doors, silent, visible, and compliant. Failure to comply can result in disciplinary reports, loss of privileges, solitary confinement, depending on severity. These procedures are documented in State Department of Corrections policies nationwide. For many inmates, morning count is the most predictable moment of the day. Everything else is uncertain. Structure as survival. Why routine matters. Prisons operate on rigid schedules, not for comfort, but for control. Research published in Criminology and Corrections journals shows that predictable routines reduce spontaneous violence, help staff manage large populations, limit opportunities for contraband movement. Meals, recreation, work assignments, medication distribution, all occur at specific times. But routine affects inmates differently. For some, it provides stability in an otherwise chaotic life. For others, it becomes a constant reminder of lost autonomy. Both reactions are documented in peer-reviewed correctional psychology studies. Breakfast, function over comfort. Meals in prison are designed to meet minimum nutritional standards, not preference. Federal guidelines require caloric and nutritional adequacy, but quality varies by state and budget. Multiple lawsuits across the U.S. have challenged food conditions, some successfully, others dismissed due to compliance with minimum standards. Breakfast is often served early, sometimes before 6 a.m., and eaten quickly. For inmates working kitchen duty, food service is one of the most common job assignments. According to correctional labor data, inmates are typically paid between $0.14 and $1.41 per hour, depending on the state. Refusal to work can result in disciplinary action. Guards monitor every movement. Tools are counted before and after each shift. In this environment, even a spoon matters. Working time. Inmate labor, a daily reality. Roughly 2/3 of state prison inmates are assigned some form of work, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. Assignments vary. Laundry. Maintenance. Groundskeeping. Library services. Prison industries, in select states. Participation is often mandatory. Work provides structure, reduces idleness, and keeps facilities functioning. Correctional administrators widely agree that without inmate labor, prisons would require significantly larger staff and budgets. However, compensation and working conditions remain a subject of ongoing legal and ethical debate. These debates are documented, but unresolved. The guard's perspective. While inmates work, guards watch. Correctional officers are responsible for preventing violence, enforcing rules, responding to medical and mental health emergencies, documenting every incident. According to occupational health studies, correctional officers experience higher rates of PTSD than many other professions, elevated risk of cardiovascular disease, high rates of burnout and early retirement. Yet training standards vary widely by state. In some jurisdictions, officers receive less training than police officers, despite working in a constant high-risk environment. This is not speculation. It is documented in federal reviews. Movement and control. Controlled freedom. Movement inside a prison is never casual. Every hallway transition requires permission. Every door opening is logged. Every group movement is supervised. This level of control exists because prisons are designed to manage large populations with limited staff. According to correctional safety audits, uncontrolled movement is one of the primary predictors of assaults. For inmates, movement is both opportunity and risk. For guards, it's the most dangerous time of the shift. Neither side forgets that. Recreation, tension beneath routine. Recreation periods are legally required in most jurisdictions, especially for long-term confinement. But recreation does not mean relaxation. Guards monitor group dynamics, gang affiliations, behavioral changes. Violence is statistically more likely during movement and recreation than during lockdown. As a result, officers are trained to observe small details: who stands where, who avoids whom, who suddenly changes routine. These observations are documented in incident reports, not remembered casually. Every detail can matter later. Mental health inside the walls. A system under strain. More than 40% of incarcerated individuals have a diagnosed mental health condition, according to federal data. Many more remain undiagnosed. Guards are often the first responders to mental health crises, not clinicians. Training in mental health response varies widely. Some states mandate crisis intervention training. Others do not. This gap has been directly linked, in official investigations, to preventable deaths and injuries. These findings are public record. When routine breaks. Prisons are built on routine. But every correctional system plans for the moments when routine fails, because it always does. According to federal incident data, most prison disturbances begin during ordinary activities, movement between units, recreation, or work assignments. Not lockdowns. Not riots. Normal moments. When routine breaks, everything accelerates. Incident response, seconds matter. Correctional officers are trained to respond to incidents in graduated steps. These typically include verbal commands, separation of involved individuals, use of restraints, chemical agents or force, if authorized. Policies governing use of force are documented and vary by jurisdiction, but all require written justification and review. Every use of force incident triggers supervisor review, medical evaluation of the inmate, Written reports that may be reviewed by internal affairs or external monitors. This process is not optional. It is mandated. The reality of violence. Violence in prison is statistically less frequent than public perception, but it is persistent. According to Bureau of Justice Statistics data, most inmate-on-inmate assaults involve no weapons. Serious injuries are relatively rare but not uncommon. Staff assaults occur most often during movement or cell extractions. What often goes unreported is the psychological impact. Correctional officers report hypervigilance, constant scanning for threats. Inmates report chronic stress from living in close quarters with unresolved conflicts. Neither experience is speculative. Both are documented. Segregation, isolation as control. What segregation is, and isn't. Solitary confinement, often called administrative or disciplinary segregation, is one of the most controversial tools in corrections. Officially, segregation is used for immediate safety threats, serious rule violations, protective custody in some cases. Conditions vary widely by state and facility. Some inmates are confined 22 to 24 hours per day. Others receive limited out-of-cell time. These differences are documented in state policies and litigation records. The long-term mental health effects of extended isolation are well documented in academic research, leading some states to restrict or reform its use. Others have not. The guards in segregation units. Working segregation units is often considered one of the most stressful assignments. Officers face higher rates of inmate self-harm incidents, increased verbal abuse, greater isolation from coworkers. According to occupational studies, prolonged exposure to these environments contributes to burnout and PTSD symptoms. These findings are not anecdotal. They appear repeatedly in peer-reviewed research. Medical and mental health emergencies. When health becomes a crisis. Medical emergencies inside prisons are common. According to federal data, chronic illnesses are significantly more prevalent among incarcerated populations. Emergency responses are often delayed by security protocols. When an emergency occurs, guards secure the scene. Medical staff are notified. Outside hospitals may be contacted, requiring transport under guard. Every step is logged. Every delay scrutinized. Failures in this process have resulted in wrongful death settlements and federal investigations. These outcomes are documented in court records. Lunch and the midday shift. Midday, the longest hours. By midday, fatigue sets in, for both inmates and staff. Guards often work 12 to 16-hour shifts, especially in understaffed facilities. Inmates spend hours navigating crowded environments with limited privacy. Midday is statistically associated with increased disciplinary infractions, heightened tension, more medical complaints. This is not coincidence. Fatigue degrades judgment, for everyone. The unseen work, paper and patterns. Documentation is control. Behind every visible action is paperwork. Correctional officers document rule violations, use of force, medical referrals, behavioral patterns. These reports are used to determine disciplinary action, identify gang activity, support or refute legal claims. Inaccurate documentation has been cited in multiple federal cases as a factor in civil rights violations. Accuracy is not optional, it is legally required. Afternoon, programs and their limits. Education and programs. Educational and rehabilitative programs exist in most prisons, but access varies. According to correctional education data, participation depends on sentence length, behavior, and availability. Waiting lists are common. Program funding fluctuates with state budgets. Studies consistently show that education programs reduce recidivism, but implementation is uneven. This gap between evidence and practice is widely acknowledged. Nightfall. When the prison really reveals itself. As daylight fades, prisons do not sleep. They change. Night shift brings fewer staff, reduced movement, and longer stretches of silence, conditions that can either calm a facility or push it toward crisis. This is when the true weight of incarceration settles in. Shift change, passing the burden. Evening shift change is one of the most critical moments of the day. Outgoing officers brief incoming staff on unresolved tensions. Medical watch lists. Inmates in emotional distress. Equipment issues and staffing gaps. Any missed detail can have consequences hours later. Official reviews of serious prison incidents frequently cite incomplete shift communication as a contributing factor. This is why handovers are formal, documented, and mandatory. But even the best briefing cannot predict the night ahead. Lockdown and evening count. As night approaches, prisons move into restricted movement. Evening count confirms. Every inmate is in the correct cell. No one is injured or missing. The facility is secure for the night. Counts at night are often quieter, but more tense. Officers walk tiers slowly, shining flashlights into cells. Inmates must be visible and responsive. Silence is enforced. This process is repetitive, but never casual. Multiple escape attempts and medical emergencies in U.S. prisons have been discovered during routine night counts. The system relies on vigilance, not assumptions. Life inside the cell. For inmates, night is the most psychologically difficult time. Locked inside cells, often shared with one or more people, there is no distraction from long sentences, family separation, legal uncertainty, regret, anger, or fear. Mental health professionals consistently report that anxiety increases at night. Suicidal ideation peaks during late hours. Requests for mental health assistance often come after lights out. These patterns are documented in correctional mental health studies. Guards are trained to recognize warning signs, but they cannot see everything. The night shift officer. Night shift officers work with reduced staffing, slower response times, greater isolation. According to staffing audits, some prisons operate at minimum safe staffing levels overnight. Officers may be responsible for monitoring dozens or hundreds of inmates. Fatigue becomes a factor. Occupational studies show that night shift correctional officers experience higher injury rates, slower reaction times, increased long-term health risks. Yet incidents still demand immediate response. There is no pause button. Medical emergencies after dark. Medical emergencies do not follow schedules. At night, response is more complex. Fewer medical staff on site. Additional security steps for movement. Delays waiting for supervisors or transport authorization. Federal investigations into in-custody deaths often highlight nighttime delays as a critical issue. These findings are part of the public record. Correctional officers are required to initiate life-saving measures, but they are not doctors. This gap has cost lives. Quiet does not mean safe. The absence of noise can be deceptive. Many serious incidents occur during quiet hours. Inmate assaults inside cells. Self-harm attempts. Medical collapses. Because movement is limited, discovery often depends on regular checks. Observation through cell windows. Inmates alerting staff. Not all incidents are prevented. Some are only discovered after irreversible harm. These outcomes are documented, not assumed. The final count. The final count of the night closes the operational day. If everyone is accounted for, the prison enters its most controlled phase. But control is temporary. In a few hours, morning shift will arrive. Doors will open. Routine will begin again. For inmates, another day closer, or farther, from release. For guards, another shift survived. Neither side leaves unchanged. 2 lives, 1 system. Inside prison walls, daily life is not defined by headlines or extremes. It is defined by repetition. By structure. By human beings navigating a system designed to control them, or relying on it for safety. Inmates and guards do not share freedom, authority, or choice. But they share the same environment. The same risks. The same consequences when the system fails. Understanding prison life means understanding both sides, without exaggeration, without denial. Because behind the bars, reality is more complex than fiction has ever shown. Thank you for watching Beyond the Bars. If you value long-form, fully factual documentaries that go deeper than the headlines, please like this video and subscribe. Your support allows us to keep telling these stories with accuracy, respect, and depth. Until next time. Stay informed, and we'll see you beyond the bars.